Hey, it's Eno Sayers.
This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Hey, hits a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to A's Cast Live. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I just did something that you are not supposed to do in our business. I started touching knobs right before the show started, which is such a huge no-no. The Karate Kid Ray is with us. Ray, does everything sound okay?
Everything sounds good to me. I hear you loud and clear.
I started tweaking some things because you would have just seen the A's cast, and then I started, and then that's a no-no. So I just wanted to know if everything is good. This is it, baby. The Final Four. We've got so much to talk about today. We've got some big-time numbers people for you on the program today. You like nerd geeks? We've got nerd geeks for you. I'm telling you right now, data, you want numbers, we got it. And I can tell you our first guest is going to be really fired up because he is from Philadelphia. He is from ESPN. He is a big part of the morning show Get Up. He's an author. We've brought him on. His book was a bestseller right here. Paul Hembekides from ESPN is going to join us today. He's from Philadelphia, a lifelong Phillies fan. That'll be fun for him. I don't know how you cannot be a Phillies fan unless you're somebody who just does not like the Phillies because you're like Commander Cody from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh hates Philly. I get it, right? San Francisco, LA hate each other. We get it. But just as a sports fan, it reminds me a lot of like the Golden State Warriors. How do you not like watching the Golden State Warriors play? It's beautiful basketball. It's some of the greatest just open floor passing, movement, shooting that you've ever seen in the history of the game. How do you not love that? Like if you're just somebody that likes sports and watches basketball, how do you not, when the Warriors were at their height, how do you not like watching that? I mean, watching Tiger Woods play golf in his prime. How do you not like watching that? This is amazing. This is something you've never seen before. Phillies have that. I'm not saying they're the greatest team ever. I'm not comparing them to teams that won championship. I'm just saying, just from the standpoint of watching them and what they bring, what they ooze, the intensity, that's the number one word today, by the way. I'll get to that in a second. How do you not like watching the Phillies play? This is, by the way, the greatest venue in the history of Major League Baseball, Citizens Bank Park. I saw this yesterday, and I could not believe it. I got it for you here. Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies are now 26-11 at their ballpark, this new ballpark. I don't know what year it opened up, but relatively new. It's not the Vet. We know that. It's the best postseason record in the history of our game, minimum 20 games. They got a 703 winning percentage in that yard. And you know all those Philly people are liquored up. They're already Philly people mixed in with New Jersey people. Oh, can you imagine being in that ballpark? Huh? I can tell you, Philly's crazy. When you're an opposing team and you go in and play Philly, it's crazy. There's intensity. Before I get into intensity, I want you to remember that word. I got an email today from the A's, like a lot of you did. Kind of fired me up a little bit. Now, I got it to my personal email and I got it to my work email. And if you ever want to email me, reach out, ctownsend@athletics.com. I don't hide from anybody. Single game tickets for the A's 10th spring training season at Hohokam Park in Mesa, Arizona are now on sale. Our first game, I remember Korak told me, but I forgot to write this down. Hall of Famer, Ken Korak. February 24th, which is a Saturday, we're taking on the Colorado Rockies. Mark, I'm writing it down right now. You should all write this down. February 24th. It's a Saturday versus Colorado. A's will host 14 games in Mesa. You got, of course, the Giants, the Cubbies, Rangers, Padres, White Sox, Brewers, Mariners. I don't know who's on our schedule. I'm rifling off teams from the Valley of the Sun. But we've got 14 games in Mesa, and it all starts February 24th. That floats my boat. Because you know how this thing works. I've got the Halloween decorations up at my house right now. We're going to have Halloween. Then it's going to be Thanksgiving. Then it's going to be Christmas. Next thing you know, it's fantasy camp. And then players, you got pitchers and catchers report. And then, wham, Super Bowl will be over in Vegas. And then February 24th, pitchers and catchers. We'll start doing this thing all over again. Ray, does that fire you up? Well, you'll have to start working. February 24th, you're going to have to start working again, getting all your logs, talking to the affiliates, listen to the games on A's Cast. February 24th, Ray, before you know it, it'll be here.
Yeah, it comes up really quick, Townie. There's no doubt about it. And if you want tickets to spring training at Hohokam Stadium, go to athletics.com/spring.
Athletics.com/spring. Now, Ray is a black belt. Ray has competed in competition against other humans. I'm going to say other men, correct? I don't. He has competed against other men where you fight. You fight. It's real. People break stuff. People get hurt. It's real. It's grown men fighting each other for something. Ray has done this in competition at a very high level where he is a highly skilled fighter. The guy he's fighting is a highly skilled fighter. The reason why I bring this up is the word intensity. Because what you're seeing the last couple of years is you're seeing teams get exposed, right? And it's really tough for our sport because our sport loved to pride itself on the regular season. Because back in the day, the way it worked is the team who won the most games in the American League would take on the team that won the most games in the National League, and that was your World Series. That's how we used to do it. Well before any of us were born. And we prided ourselves on that. You were the long-standing champ, kind of, soccer style. And because I was asking my golf buddy Simon from London yesterday, like, how the hell are you guys doing? I guess they don't even have playoffs. So people like to think that you play the regular season and that if you're the most successful at the regular season, that really means something. Well, what happens when you start expanding postseason, you start exposing that. And it gets exposed big time. I'm not trying to take away from what people do in the regular season, but it's been highly overrated for a long time, and other sports have shown us that. And let me explain. As someone who does work pretty much every single game, it's a very routine, mundane schedule. It's a lot of the same things day after day after day. People get in these routines. Like if you went to A's games this year and Trevor May, they came up on the board talking about things you eat and everything. And Trevor May talked about always having a tuna melt when he was with the Twins, because that was what somebody developed that, and they all got into this fun thing because they were bored. Yeah, they're bored. So they start having these fun games with each other to keep interested in a long, boring, mundane season that is far too long. So they all started eating tuna melts every day. The point is, we overplay the king of the mundane schedule. We overplay, well, at the end of the year, they were the ones. Folks, if there was ever a time this is so overblown, the Angels use, where is he? Where? Your rally monkey. The rally monkey used 66 players this year. That's literally an NFL, they suit 58 guys. They use more than the NFL. The Angels use 66 players. How many nights do you sit there and you watch, or you go online and you see who's pitching and you go, who? The San Francisco Giants were over 500 for a good part of the year, basically pitching 2 starters and a bunch of openers. That is what's great about the regular season. How many times do we see pitchers not go deep in games? I rant and rave about it. Why? Because we're saving them for some reason. Oh, the integrity of the regular season? How many guys are taking days off? The regular season is so overblown, but yet people want to defend it because they feel that their game plans, their analytics, their data, that's when it works best. And this everyday Monday seat, because think about it. You come home, you got 3 teams, it's 9-10 games. You play these teams, then you get on a plane, then you go, it's the same routine. Home, road, bus, plane, same hotels. You stay in the same hotel. Every single time you go to Houston, you stay in the same hotel. Every single time you go to Arlington, you stay in the same hotel. Seattle, whatever. It's such a routine-oriented thing. And then all of a sudden, you're the best at it. And people want to make this something because, well, it shows how smart we were with our player movement and our analytics and everything. And what happens when we get to the postseason? Your mundane routine, you're the king of, doesn't matter anymore. Because 162 games, 152 games, 142 games is it's all way too much. That's not really a definition of who's the best. It's because they're trying to make money. Now we're taking you out of your routine. Now we're putting you in a scenario where everything matters. In a sport where all they say is, go get him tomorrow. You're 0 for 4. It's all right. I got tomorrow. I went out and gave up 6 runs and 2 2/3. I'll get him in my next start. We always talk about tomorrow, the next day. We got time. We always got time in baseball. It's early. Guess what, folks? It's the postseason. It's the bright lights. You're not in Kansas City in July anymore, baby. This isn't Oakland in August. This is the postseason. Every pitch, every play, every throw, every ground ball, it all matters. And now, this just isn't the Atlanta Braves being watched in the Southeast. Now everybody's watching you. You watching, Ray, we're working at the ballpark. Are we watching Braves games?
I can't say that we were doing that a whole lot.
Are we watching Dodgers games?
No.
Now we are. Now we're all watching. Back in the day, a lot of people watched because of TBS, but they're not on TBS anymore. But you get what I'm saying? I'm not watching Marlins games. I'm not watching Rays games. I watch games and we put them on the screen in our A's Cast booth. But we're not watching them like we watch the postseason. No. All the eyes are on you now, baby. That's the bright lights. That's the playoffs. And if you're making any excuse, you're a loser. Losers make excuses. The winners don't make excuses. I've been reading, watching, doing everything, preparing for this show. I'm not hearing the Rangers make any excuses. Has anybody had to go through weirder times to get to 7 straight ALCSs than the Houston Astros? Cheating scandal, COVID season, whatever you throw at the Astros, they seem to get to the ALCS every year. Have they been routine in their road to all these playoffs? Has it been the same in routine? Nope. They've done it in a lot of different ways. And that's what I love. I love the fact that we are seeing this is what playoffs is about. All that garbage you did in 162 games when you had openers and guys that don't play and just routine Monday, as my whole thing is Kansas City in July, the game changes. The spotlight's on. Everybody's watching. Who really are you as a championship baseball player? Where is your baseball IQ? Where are you as a manager? Where are you as a staff? Where are you as players? Where are you as front offices? Because you know what happens when you're not as good as you think you are? You get exposed. It's like anything else in life. Do you think every tennis tournament is the same as the majors in tennis or in golf? Do you think playing, I don't know, we play the tournament out at Pebble Beach, and then we go to Arizona, and then we go to LA and play at Riviera, and then you go to San Diego and you play at Torrey Pines? Do you think that's the same as playing the Masters or the US Open? Nope. Baseball people have a hard time with this because they want everything to be so controllable. We want to control everything. You can't control the bright lights of the postseason. Mike Tyson said it. Everybody's got a game plan until they get hit in the mouth. And you want something that is just disgusting when you think about our sport and this regular season champion. First 2 years of expanded postseason, 7 teams have won 100-plus games in the regular season. 6 of those 7s didn't even win a playoff series. I mean, we like, oh, they've won 100 games. 6 out of 7 teams have won 100 games. You're out. You don't even win. So really, how good are they? Are they the king of the mundane, drawn-out, long season where you get in your routines? Are you the king of that? Great. But now you don't have routine. Now you've got to bring it. And let me tell you, you don't. The last 3 number 1 seeds, Ray, do you know who the last 3 number 1 seeds are?
Let me think back. Last year, we're talking National and American League.
You had the best record.
Okay. Braves.
Dodgers. And the year before that?
No, it wasn't the Mets, that's for sure.
The San Francisco Giants. So, Giants, Dodgers, and Braves. How did they all do the last 3 years in the postseason?
Not great.
So you want to tell me how important this regular season most wins are? It's literally unbelievable. It's unbelievable how many of them they fold. Because, folks, it's intensity. Spencer Strider, here's a quote. We weren't prepared. We didn't compete. We weren't tough enough. Okay, there's something in there, but to me, it's the intensity. You can't match the intensity. And I want to explain this in a way that everybody will understand, because we're all Golden State Warrior fans. And I covered this. Do you remember when the Golden State Warriors would take on Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs? Of course you do. Greg Popovich is one of the great coaches of his time. And Greg Popovich had a strategy against the Warriors. So very early in the game, Clay hits a 3, Steph hits a 3. All of a sudden, Oracle starts going nuts. What did Greg Popovich do every time? He'd get up immediately, boop, timeout. I'm like, timeout? It's the beginning of the game. Popovich would get up, boop, timeout. And then he would later tell us, I can't let that tsunami go. It's a tidal wave coming. I got to stop it now. Stop it now. Because he knew his team could not match the Warriors' intensity. Just could not match it. So every single time the Warriors started to get rolling, he'd pop up and call a timeout. And at first, when we first started seeing the strategy, we went, what is the old man doing? This is crazy. And we realized, no, it's not. It's actually pretty smart. Because once the Warriors started putting it on you, it's like a track meet, right? Once they start pulling away and they're going around the track and they get ahead of you, you're not going to catch up. It was a numbers game. They're hitting threes, you're hitting twos. I'm hitting threes, you're hitting twos. The math, I start losing in the math game. But a track's a great way to explain it, right? Once the Warriors got out ahead of you and you're in a race and you're running behind them, you just couldn't catch up. And by the end, you were gassed and they're just running. Popovich was brilliant. I'll give you another one. We just saw it on Sunday Night Football. There's no way the Dallas Cowboys could match the intensity of the San Francisco 49ers. They just could not. 49ers ran them off the field. You can talk coaching, you can talk execution, but when you talk about flying to the football, when you talk about firing out on the football offensively, getting to the football defensively, just watching the two teams, the Niners were superior. The Cowboys couldn't match the intensity that the Niners brought, and that's why they ran them off the field. Ray, you watched the game. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, two very different levels of play in that Sunday Night Football game. The Niners were in complete control. Dallas had no answer. They were in disarray.
And now you start looking at who we have left. Hey, we all know the intensity that the Astros bring. I don't even have to explain that. I mean, how many times are we sitting there and you're looking at the Astros, it's whack, 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 and all of a sudden you're down 4-5-0. Jesus, what happened? How did this happen? Even when we were good and they were starting to get good. Whack, whack, whack. What? They bring it, man. Astros, you know, they're bringing it. They're intense. The Texas Rangers, guys, if you're not paying attention, we saw it all year long. They flat out swing it. And right now, we're talking about the team that had no bullpen. Who's going to be there? They have no DeGrom. They have no Scherzer. Only the Phillies, 1.57, have a lower ERA from their rotation in the postseason than the Rangers. The Rangers' postseason ERA is 2.22. Incredible. Astros' rotation is 3. But the Rangers, you watching them play? Whack, whack, whack. Making the defensive plays. Always putting it on you. Bringing intensity. How about the Diamondbacks? They're hitting the ball all over the field. Diamondbacks are tied for the most home runs in the postseason. But it's not all about home runs. They run the bases and play defense as well as anybody. You look at all the metrics when it comes to base running, they're tops. So they steal bases, they run the bases well, they do they're on you. They're constantly on you. And Dodgers couldn't match it. Brewers couldn't match it. You think about the Rangers. I mean, look at these teams that had no intensity. Like, it's easy right now to go Atlanta and LA. Just checking the time here. It's easy to do that. My God, look how Tampa sleptwalked again. I was listening to the game. Speaking of the great Ken Korak, Korak came down to our sponsor, Center Bar Hills Golf Club. Korak and I were playing golf, and I put the game on the phone, and it connects to the golf cart, and we're listening to the game, and we're listening to your buddies, Ray. Ray used to work around the Tampa Bay Rays. Rays people are awesome. They're just that their broadcast group, nicest. They're just awesome. So we're listening to the Rays guys, and the Rays are always like, well, the Rays haven't scored in 33 straight postseason innings dating back to last year. This is in game 2 of this year. Remember last year they couldn't score against the Guardians. Is that playoff intensity? Ray, 33 straight innings. They didn't score a run in 2 years.
Yeah, and I listened to that broadcast as well. Andy Fried and Neil Solondz were on the call.
Yeah.
And by the seventh inning, they were like, we're just getting run out of our own building. To their credit, they didn't hide away from it. They're calling it like it is. It's like, we are getting run out of the Trop right now.
And he goes, we got really smart people. They're going to have to really delve into this and figure this out. Blue Jays 3 straight times in the playoffs, haven't won a game. And you go look, Vladimir did nothing. Bichette did nothing. I mean, just down the line, no intensity. They just show up, bright lights, time to go. What do you got? And what do? They're duds. They're absolute duds. Then you say, okay, well, what are you talking about? Well, here you go. Bryce Harper this postseason hitting .368 with a 1,380 OPS, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, 7 runs scored. Castellanos yesterday, 2 more bombs. He's hitting .636 the last 3 games, 4 home runs, 4 RBIs, 5 runs scored. He's the first player in the history of baseball. You got to remember, those Yankee teams from yesteryear usually have all the records. You think of all the great players in baseball, he's the only player ever to have multiple home runs at back-to-back postseason games. Trey Turner, ever since they started cheering him, and his numbers have been great, but Trey Turner in 6 postseason games is hitting .500. 6 extra base hits, 2 dingers, 5 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, 6 games. And they brought the intensity into Atlanta. Atlanta's just kind of, and then you come back to Citizens Bank and it is game on. You get into their yard, it is absolutely game on. It's intensity. They bring the intensity. And I can't wait. D-backs, Phillies on Sunday, or do they both start on Sunday?
No, I think Astros Rangers is Sunday, then Phillies D-backs start on Monday.
Game 1, Game 1 Sunday, yeah, and Game 1's Monday. Yeah, American League starts Sunday, National League starts Monday. And finally, something that in our neck of the woods, all these years, we've had to listen about the American League East being, it's the greatest division. It's blah, 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 blah. They can't win a game. Every single team has a big-time losing streak in the American League East in the postseason. Were they like, we had it the other day. It's like 0-11, whatever. I mean, Orioles look like chumps. I love how people talk about how, well, it's their first taste at it. That doesn't mean you'll be back next year. You want to feel good about yourself? Everybody want to get a trophy? Do I have something that's like a trophy? Everybody you want your Ohtani trophy? Here you go. Here's your Ohtani trophy. There you go. There he is. Star Wars. You think there's any guarantee the Orioles are back next year? Nope. There's no guarantee. Hey, aren't the D-backs aren't the D-backs a young team? They didn't fold like a cheap suit. Hey, this Ranger team, this is new to them. I mean, look at the teams that are in the Final Four. I mean, just the Phillies and the Astros have the experience. So, I mean, you can say you can do all the feel goods you want, means absolutely nothing. But the fact that the Rangers and the Astros finally, this is get it on time. This is the real development of a rivalry. This is 2 cities that don't like each other. I mean, Houston has always had to play, even though Houston is a monster city. Houston is what, the 4th populated city in our country?
It's up there.
But Dallas has always been the shining star of Texas, right? It's the big oil money. It's Dallas. They had the TV show Dallas. You got the Dallas Cowboys. It's Dallas. It's Big D. And Houston's always been bunch of cattle ranchers. Austin is the capital, bunch of hippies. San Antonio, I like San Antonio. Some people rip San Antonio. And then West Texas is god-awful. For all of you, no offense, Dallas Braden, Texas Tech alum, it's awful. West Texas. I've been to UTEP. I've had to do that. No. But this is going to be get it on. These are two teams that know each other so well. You want to talk about bringing intensity? How about this? This is the 5th time where two managers with at least 1,500 career victories match up against each other. I saw this and I was like, damn. The others, Bobby Cox, Tony La Russa in 2000, Lou Piniella and Joe Torre in 2008, Tony La Russa and Joe Torre in 2009, and Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa in 2021. Only Joe Torre, Tony La Russa, Bobby Cox have more career postseason managerial wins than Baker and Bochy. Baker's got 53, Bochy has 49. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. A lot of years between those guys.
Joe Torre has 84 career postseason wins. Tony La Russa has 71. I mean, Torres was obviously Yankee. I mean, Tony La Russa was winning games with the A's in the 80s, Ray, before you were born.
Oh, for sure. And maybe even before Hembo was born. He's here, by the way.
Paul, yeah, Hembo wasn't born. Hembo's like 22 years old, for God's sakes, even though he's where did I put the book? Where's the book? Oh, here it is. Here it is.
So
Here it is, everybody. He's a New York Times bestseller. You like numbers. You love sports. You know, what's great about this time of the year, put up a little bit closer. What's great about this time of the year is we always say, Hembo, what the hell do I get so-and-so for Christmas? And you don't want to get crazy, and you don't want to, like my nephew is on the San Diego State golf team, and his birthday's coming up, and he wants Warrior stuff. But he wants, like, polos. And this is a very affordable, great gift for the holidays. Put right next to the stocking. Wrap it up. A good book for sports. New York Times bestseller. Paul Hembekides joins us. I've been saying earlier, Hembo, I know our sport. I've worked in it a long time, and all the old guard wants to talk about regular season. I went over this whole stop telling me about how great you are in Kansas City in July. I don't want to hear about all the dumb openers. I don't want to hear about the 66 players used by the Angels. You want to talk about the integrity of the regular season? They use we use 24 different starters, the A's. Stop telling me about your regular season. Tell me about the intensity that you bring in the postseason. And I got to tell you, my friend, Citizens Bank Park is right now statistically the greatest home field advantage we have ever seen in baseball. And when you talk intensity from the players, from the fans, nobody is like your Philadelphia Phillies.
I have said for as long as I have been a conscious Phillies fan, now going on, 25 years, that Philadelphia is best known as an Eagles town, and it probably always will be. But when our team is good, when the Phillies are good, Philadelphia is as good, if not better, than any baseball town in America. And that has been on full display for the world to see this October and last October. You can't possibly watch these games at Citizens Bank Park without experiencing an emotion. And as someone who got to attend 2 games in the postseason last year, I can genuinely say there is nothing in sports like it. It is the greatest environment in all of sports, in any sport, right this second. It just is. In Game 3 of the National League Division Series a year ago, the Rhys Hoskins home run and bat spike, that game, right? I have been to Final Fours, college football playoffs, Super Bowls, other worlds. Like I have been to it all as a credentialed member of the press since I've worked at ESPN for all this time. I have not experienced anything like a playoff game in Philadelphia. That place absolutely rocks. And if you're someone that happens to have a few $1,000s sitting around and you want to experience the greatest thing you ever can, don't go to the Eras Tour. Go to a Phillies postseason game because it for sure won't let you down.
Yeah, I've already paid for that tour for my kids at Levi Stadium, so I don't have to worry about that. I talked about intensity. I love the Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a game plan until you get hit in the mouth. We've had 7 teams win 100 games. Last 2 years, only one team has moved on. There is something about I don't want to hear about the layoff. Stop whining. There's something about bringing the intensity that these teams, this Final Four, we already know what the Astros are brought. How about the Astros? You want to talk about all these different teams? They're asking Matt Olson or they're asking the Dodgers. How about the layoff? The Astros have now been to the ALCS 7 straight years. And think about everything they've dealt with. Cheating scandal, COVID, a COVID season where they're playing on the road, every single possible distraction you could throw at the Astros, doesn't matter. They still go to the ALCS. Stop whining to me about the format.
Yeah, this is what we do in society now. Rather than take personal responsibility for our shortcomings, we decide to blame the system. It's a very uniquely baseball thing to do. We can't just stomach the fact that on a given day or in a given series, my team might have underperformed. We have to blame external factors to make ourselves feel better. And it's pathetic and it's lame, and I'm not here for it. Can we have a good faith argument about whether or not Major League Baseball has the perfect postseason format? I guess, but that's so low on the list of talking points coming out of this postseason that it's not even really worth entertaining. And I'll tell you why. I looked it up today because I wanted to know if this is a new phenomenon in baseball. So I checked, and I looked up the percentage of time. I do this. I don't make decisions and provide commentary based on emotion. I use data, right? So here's what I did. I looked at the percentage of time across the 4 major sports in which the team with the better record advanced in the postseason or won a postseason series, or in the NFL's case, postseason game. In the NFL, it happens 66% of the time. 2/3 of the time, the team with the better record wins the game in the postseason. In the NBA, that number is 75%, which is probably no surprise. The better team usually wins in the NBA. In hockey, historically, that number is 64%. A little bit less so, but it's still a pretty significant advantage for the team with a better record in the regular season. And in baseball, a sport that is playing its postseason games has been playing its postseason games since 1903. The team with the better record has won 54% of the games.
That's it?
What that means? That's it. And do you know what that means, my friend? What it means is that if you're complaining about baseball's postseason format, what you're actually just doing is complaining about baseball. This is baseball. Baseball is random. Baseball is filled with chance. Baseball is filled with so few constants and so many variables. This is what happens. All right. If the World Series winner in 1908 had a worse regular season record than the World Series loser, did we complain then that they didn't get a head start in the series? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense in the world. This format that we have, perhaps while imperfect, supercharged the regular season for so many teams and wound up being an incredible net positive for the regular season, for the sprint. And now we're going to sit here and complain that the best teams during that time didn't advance. It's on them. It's on them for being ill-prepared. It's on them for not playing September with as much urgency as the rest of the lot. I'm just not here for it. I'm just not here for it, to be honest with you. I understand the talking point. And if I was a fan of the Braves today, I suppose it would be on my mind. But it would be on my mind much deeper than the fact that my team just choked away its playoff chances for the second straight year in Philadelphia.
Yeah, like I somebody who's a very popular analytics person was saying, like, well, if you really want to be honest, they need to play like 50 games. 50 games. You know what? Here's your Shohei Ohtani won Kenobi Star Wars trophy for the regular season. Beat it. I'm so tired of hearing about that. Speaking of data, how do you explain to me love, trust, everything that Torey Lovello talks about has nothing to do with data? Why they went, we can look at data of why no one runs the bases better than the D-backs. They play defense. They're relentless on you. Their bullpen has been fantastic. They're tied for the most home runs. You can look at, but they talk about love and trust. Why? How do we put that into data? Why the D-backs are doing what they're doing?
So during the regular season, data tells the story. We can generally look at a certain set of data points and conclude to ourselves, like, these were the best teams. There's obviously some combination of your record and your run differential and your home run differential and all the factors that go into us doing this thing. And over the course of 162, that matters a lot. But when you're playing a tournament, when you're playing a best of 3, a best of 5, a best of 7 series in baseball, of all sports, a lot of the other, like, sort of qualitative factors, for lack of a better term, matter a lot, because we know that no matter how good or how bad you might be in baseball, you don't have any better than a 60-40 or 40-60 chance to win or lose your series. That's baseball, which I just articulated. And so the teams historically that have thrived in October are teams that can dig deeper, are teams that have the kind of culture that enables you to get up off the mat, that have the kind of culture that enables you to reach closer to your 100th percentile outcome. So that's what the Diamondbacks have done, in a more pronounced case, perhaps even the Phillies have done. Like, that's definitely a big thing. So that's why I think over the course of 162, data rules the day. But when you're talking about what happens now, we're putting all these teams on the same playing field. It's a level playing field. You've played on teams. I've played on teams. Clubhouse chemistry and clubhouse culture matter a lot when it tightens, right? In high stakes, in high leverage, in moments in which that kind of camaraderie, that kind of community, that kind of pick me up, all of a sudden matter a lot more, right? When the stakes are present, right? When the tension is high, that is when those kinds of things matter, and that's where managing and clubhouse culture and clubhouse leadership really manifest, and that's where the Dodgers and Braves fell short once again.
I said this about the Phillies last year, and I think now you can kind of say it about a couple of these teams. We all remember in high school, it's not college, because in college you get picked, right? You get they offer you a scholarship, you take it, you go, you get put with these guys. High school, though, it's like that summer league team where you're starting to experience things for the first time. You're kind of drinking beers together. You're like a group of guys from a bunch of different high schools, but you're on the summer league team. And all of a sudden the postseason comes. You guys have been partying, you're dating girls, you're doing all that, and you like come together as dudes and you become unbeatable. And even though you're not like the perfect puzzle pieces, you just like a bunch of guys who are out at night, you're playing ball together. You're like you're that unbeatable summer league team. That's what the Phillies have reminded me of. They're like that team that's come together. They're a bunch of buddies. And it's now like, dude, I've been on some of those teams where you felt like, I don't care who's in the other dugout. They got no chance to beat us. Like, we're going to beat anybody. And I played on some teams where in high school, all of us at least played college. A lot of guys got drafted, but you'd put us all on this summer league team together. We dominated. I feel that's like the Phillies, but you know what? Here comes the Rangers. I don't want to play the Rangers. God knows you don't want to play the Astros. The Astros are the most battle-hardened team we've seen in Major League Baseball since the Yankees of the late 90s. And now these D-backs, I mean, if I said to people that the D-backs are tied with the Phillies in home runs, and the Phillies and the D-backs are tops in stolen bases in the postseason, you'd be like, huh, really? I mean, these four teams, I'm fired up.
We have a fantastic Final Four in baseball. In the National League, I think the world is going to get the opportunity to see some of these young stars on Arizona, perhaps for the first time. This team is a delight to watch. Corbin Carroll was one of my favorite players in baseball this season. And we shouldn't overlook the fact that they're going to throw Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly at the Phillies, and that's a damn good tandem. I mean, those two guys can absolutely shove. If you actually compare their numbers this year to Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, they come out looking a lot better. It's more than a half a run better in terms of their ERA. It's 2 WAR better, and that's their path to victory. If Arizona's going to win this series, those two guys are going to have to be shilling in Randy Johnson. That's what it's going to look like. That's what it's going to have to look like, because the Phillies are more talented on practically every front. But you know as well as I do, if you have two guys that can shove and can get you 18 outs, that's how you can win. And if you can go and split at Citizens Bank Park, piece it together in Phoenix and hand it back to those guys, that's their ticket to ride, because the Phillies are so much more talented and so much more experienced in the postseason. The thing is about the Diamondbacks, it's a little scary, is like they're so young and so inexperienced that you kind of get the sense that like they don't know how big this actually is, because they're so green. You know, it's like they're a year or two early, and so they're just having fun with it. Like, this team plays so carefree and loose and easy, and they've got like the venerable manager, running things, who's dropping F-bombs on TV and stuff. Like, they have
Torey Lovello.
Right, like they won't know like what hit them until the season is over. So a lot of my friends are discounting, because I'm obviously the world's biggest Phillies fan. A lot of my friends are discounting the Diamondbacks. I'm absolutely not, because if you have two horses that can get you 18 outs a game in the playoffs, you have a way to manufacture runs. We also know that they can hit homers with the best of them, as the Dodgers and Brewers will attest. That team's live. That team is absolutely live against the Phillies. No doubt about it.
You can go through as many numbers as you want. This Ranger team and this Astros team, there's no secrets. There's no love loss. There's no secrets. We can look at all the data. We can look at the season matchup. You can look at all of that. It doesn't matter. This is going to be interesting. I mean, you got two of the most seniored skippers of all time. You've got star players. You've got everybody's talking about aircraft carriers. They both got aircraft carriers. They got jets. They got submarines. This is let's get it on. I'm really looking. I don't like either of them. I could use my old joke. The only thing I'm rooting for is injuries, but I'm not. I hate the Astros, and I don't like the Rangers either, but they're in our division. We know them. This is going to be a big time matchup because you got firepower, you got star power. It's everywhere.
Yeah, two tanks matching up. And I view this as honestly like something of a coin flip series. The Astros are a slight favorite, as well they should be. What I did today in preparation for this was I wrote down 3 questions, the answers to which I think will determine the outcome of the series. The first question that I asked is, are the Rangers going to allow Yordan Alvarez to beat them by himself? Are they going to pitch to the guy? He has 6 home runs in the sixth inning or later over the last 2 years in the playoffs. He is David Ortiz. We are watching David Ortiz. The way the ball trampolines off of his bat, he is the scariest out in baseball right now, and that is inclusive of Bryce Harper. He is just absolutely frightening. We know that Rangers bullpen is suspect at best. That's question number 1 for me. Question number 2 is, can this Astros pitching staff, a pitching staff that is not what it was a year ago, can it contend with the length? Can it contend with the depth of the Rangers lineup? And I think the best way to illustrate this is as follows. So what I did was I broke down the performance of the Rangers lineup. I used OPS as my stat in thirds. So I looked at the top third of the order, the middle third of the order, and the bottom third of the order. And in all 3 thirds, the Rangers this year ranked in the top 3 in baseball. We are talking about a relentless group of players hitting 1 through 9. When you can throw Evan Carter and Josh Young and Nathaniel Lowe at the bottom of your lineup, your pitchers just don't have any easy outs. The Astros pitching staff is going to have to be super, super on this year because this series because the Rangers lineup is so long and so deep. And the third question, and I think it's probably the most obvious question, is will Max Scherzer be a factor? Because I don't see a clear and obvious way that the Rangers win this series if Max Scherzer does not impact it at least in some way, because the Rangers bullpen, in my judgment, is so suspect. Can you get anything out of this guy that you moved heaven and earth for? Obviously, he blew up in the playoffs last year, but in 2019 in the playoffs, he shoved. In 2021 in the playoffs, he shoved. And I think in a series that's going to likely come down to 6 or 7 games, Max Scherzer's impact or potential impact on it is going to make a difference. So those are the 3 questions I have as a sort of a preview.
Yeah, I go seeing clips yesterday of his bullpen. I go no on Scherzer as he was just 60 pitches of just look like 80%. I say no on that. I love the call. Evan Carter's hitting 429, 4 extra base hits, a 1,476 OPS. Josh Young has 8 hits in his last 16 at-bats, 5 extra base hits, 6 runs scored. I love your call on that because that the top to bottom. I mean, these guys, Evan Carter, I think, made his debut right before we played him, so we got to see him at first, and he looks like a little skinny kid that can't hit, and all he does is rake. It's incredible. I'm really looking forward to it. And what are you going to get from Verlander? Are you going to get 5 innings? Can you survive playing against the Rangers with the starters going 4, 5, that's it, and relying the rest on the bullpen against that lineup? I don't know. If you don't get any length, good luck. I'm really looking forward to it. I got to ask you, I hate to do it because they end up being losers, but you start looking at some of these numbers when let's for all the whiners here. The top 3 in NL MVP candidates, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna Jr. They went 3 for 35 for a .086 batting average, 0 RBIs in the postseason. Mookie Betts was 2 for 25. That's a .080 batting average. Acuna in the series hit 143. Oh, Matt Olson. We love Matt Olson, but let's be honest. What he's done in the postseason in his career, Matt Olson had 0 home runs after hitting 54. Ozuna hit a .154. Strider wasn't as dominant. I mean, there's a reason why these teams are going home. Their top guys didn't, as I say, match the intensity. They didn't bring, as they say in football, they didn't get off the bus.
100%. First of all, I am obviously looking forward to opening day in Atlanta when they get to unveil the banner of Ronald Acuna's 40-70 because that's the only thing that they won this year. And congratulations to him and to them for that. My God, what an absolute flop they were. So I want to talk about the Braves specifically a little bit here. Your point was a well-made one. Obviously, like if you're gonna get nothing from your from the top, from the top of your lineup, from the guys that you expect to drive your lineup, then you're going to have scant little chance. But I want to talk with you a concept about the Braves that I'd like to unpack at least a little bit. Because look, I mean, the Phillies advanced the NLCS at least in large part because they were able to hit home runs. But one thing that I have noticed, and this observation I think now is borne out with the data, is that over the course of 162 games, if you can fill your lineup with home run hitters, as the Braves did, they hit 307 home runs this year. They out-homered their opponent this year by 120. They out-homered their opponent last year by 95. But in the postseason, the Phillies out-homered them 16-8. The Braves scratched across 8 runs in 4 games. The Braves put 32 men on base and stranded 28 of them. Now, why do I think this is instructive? Because I'm not here to say that small ball is what wins, because you can't watch the Phillies and say small ball is what got him here. But what I do believe in steadfastly is something that I like to call run scoring diversity. And what the Braves have is a lot of lineup redundancy. The Braves have a lot of people that are basically good at all the same things. If your plan A fails, they don't have a plan B. Like the Braves have only one path to beat you. They're the team in the NFL that can only beat you when they can play from ahead. Right? And so they can allow their offensive line to dictate the tempo, and they can run the football, and then they can unleash their pass rushers. But what happens if you get down 10-0 in the second quarter and you have to make it a drop-back passing game, right? You can't win that way. We have now seen that in the playoffs in each of the last 2 years. The Braves don't have plan B. The Red Sox traded Nomar Garciaparra for Orlando Cabrera and got Doug Minkiewicz in 2004, not because they were better players, but because the things that they were good at is what the Red Sox needed to diversify their portfolio in the playoffs. What the Braves need to do is have guys like that. I need somebody with mental. They stranded runners all across yesterday with the Phillies bullpen spraying it all over the place because they're still swinging from their heels. If the if the left lane is closed, right, you have to go down the right lane. And if you can't hit a single, if you can't take a walk, if you can't drive in somebody, then you're only going to go so far. In the regular season over 162, you can score 947 runs, as the Braves did, by out-homering your opponent and pounding them into oblivion against the number 6, 7, and 8 starters on the Cincinnati Reds and the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies and everyone else. In the playoffs, when you're facing the best pitching in the world and your plan A fails, you have to have people that can do other stuff. The Braves don't have people that can do other stuff. And that's why for the second straight season, they went home. You have to build your lineup, at least in part, for the tournament, for what happens if the thing that I want to do doesn't work. I'm not sure if any of that made sense, but for the second straight year, we saw it manifest for the Atlanta Braves.
Oh my God. That's why we can go back to the Moneyball era of the A's of 2000, 2001, 2002, where Billy Beane would end up saying, well, my stuff just doesn't work in the postseason. Well, if you win one way and that one way isn't working, what's plan B? What's plan C? That's what always has been tough. Like, if you look at other sports, there's a lot of ways the Patriots won playoff games. You don't win all those playoff games playing one way. Adam Vinatieri kicked big field goals. There was big-time catches. There was, the way they played deep. There's a lot of different ways to win, but if there's only one way to win and someone takes that away, you're screwed. All right, let's end on this because I want to give this to you right now. Philadelphia Eagles are undefeated. You got the Phillies in the NLCS. Sixers are getting going here. When you look at the 49ers, how they destroyed the Cowboys, I'm a Raiders guy, so I don't have a dog in this fight. By the way, it's October. You don't win a Super Bowl in October. A lot of injuries. As we saw last year, Brock Purdy in the championship game get hurt. Right now, though, when you look at your Eagles, you look at the 49ers, they look like the two dominant teams in the NFL. How do you size that up?
So if the 49ers and the Eagles played this week, I would favor the 49ers regardless of where the game was played. If they played in Philly, I think they'd be a point or two favorite. If they played in San Francisco, I'd say that number would be 4 or 5. That's how much better I think San Francisco is right now than the Eagles. And they'll play they'll play after the Eagles bye, and we'll get a chance to size them up then. Here's what I would say though. As I just described with the Braves, you are building your team to win in the tournament. You need to be at your best at the end of the season, at your best in January. And the Eagles, I think, are more likely to be able to absorb attrition, to be able to withstand injury, to be able to win multiple ways than the 49ers are. The 49ers are loaded. If you look like players 1 through 10, say, the 49ers have the best team in the NFL. I'm not sure that's that close. They have stars littered across the field. But 3 months from now, when your left tackle is day-to-day, and when your middle linebacker gets knocked out for the season, and when your third-string right guard is struggling, that's where I think the Eagles will very likely have the advantage, because Howie Roseman, the Eagles general manager, has built an absolutely ridiculous roster over the course of the last few years by investing in draft picks and by hitting on the Jalen Hurts pick, right? The 49ers obviously have the luxury of paying their quarterback less than $1 million, but at the same time, there's so many highly paid players across the rest of their team that over the course of a period of time, if those guys don't stay healthy, then I think the Eagles are to be favored. So that's kind of a cop-out answer. But the answer is, if these teams are both at 100% and they both play their best, I favor the 49ers. As we all know, that's not usually what happens in sports. And so I'm going to take my Eagles based upon all those other factors.
Well, you said all time in the playoffs, the team with the best record in baseball only wins 54%?
54%, and that's 120 years of data, no matter how big or how small the playoff field is. If it's 12 teams, if it's 16 teams like it was in 2020, or if it was 2 teams when the Boston Americans played the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1903.
Great series.
And Nuff said McGreevy shouted, Tessie, you are the only. The team with the better record only wins 11 out of 20 times.
Rumors on the street, you got some new book deals going?
We got 2 more books coming. We'll make some kind of official announcement soon. But what I can say is every single time I come on this fine program, they fly off the shelf at Barnes & Nobles nationwide. I always appreciate you plugging our stuff. And the day that I get my fingers on the new books, I will send you guys a copy of it. I'll be able to provide a sneak preview at some point in the near future. For now, you can order Got Your Number on Amazon or wherever else you get your books. And we've gotten so many nice notes. And I very much appreciate you helping me push my product on your fine show.
New York Times bestseller, ladies. Forget the ESPN thing. Who cares? I mean, you're just talking LeBron and Cowboys, and you're still trying to figure out how to bring Tom Brady into the picture with the Raiders. Let's talk. You're a New York Times bestseller. That, my friend, is what matters.
Oh, you're a good man. Take care of yourself, bud.
By the way, do you want Fanatic or Bryce Harper memes? You want me texting you during the series? What do you prefer?
I want Fanatic memes, because to me, like right now, like Bryce Harper is untouchable, and I'm afraid any positivity in that world is gonna create bad juju. Philly Fanatic is evergreen; it's omnipresent. Anytime the Phillies hit a dinger, anytime the Phillies get out of a tough inning, I want the Fanatic meme.
I may create like the Bull Greg Luzinski. I might send you some.
By the way, you just made me think of this. Like, how much did you like the Powder Blues last night?
Oh,
were you thinking Tug McGraw?
That's
Mike
my childhood.
Schmidt, Gary Maddox, Pete Rose. Like
Larry Bola. Come on.
That's one of the most delicious fits in the game.
It is. It's serious. That whole era, like the Royals had them, the Blue Jays had them. Like if that era of the powder blue unis. That's the 80s. That's my love. But when I see those, I mean, obviously when I was in Sis's Bake Park, and I'm like, if I was a Phillies fan, there's one jersey I would buy. I would buy a powder blue Michael Jackson.
Nothing
greatest third baseman of all time. It's not a debate. It's not a debate.
But I'll tell you what, there are some in Philadelphia that are already saying that with a title this year, Bryce Harper would ascend to second on that list. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I mean, right now he is in the zone. Right now he is that rare prodigy that is exceeding the sort of undeliverable hype. And every time he comes to the plate, you're surprised when he does not deliver. He is absolutely locked in.
Bryce Harper is going to have a plaque in Cooperstown. Yes. Mike Schmidt is the greatest third baseman to have ever played.
Ever.
What did he led the National League, 7 or 8 times in home runs?
Yeah, more than any player in history.
Yeah, I mean, and was great defensively.
On playing on cement. So, but you're 100% right. 5 years after he retires, Bryce will give a speech in Cooperstown, and I'll probably be there for it.
Hembo, you are the best. We'll keep promoting, and let's talk soon as your Phillies probably will move on.
You're a good man.
See ya. The great Paul Hembekides from ESPN. See, why we bring this guy on is he just gives you 120 years of baseball. You want these fools who want to sit here, oh, my God, it's not fair. It's not fair. 120 years of baseball, 54% of the time, the team with the better record wins. You realize you're considered a success in like gamblers, like people who do it for a living. Not like, Cody having to pay for another dinner because Cody talks too big on this show, so I challenge him, and he's got to owe me. Refresh me. Are the Mariners still in the playoffs?
Last I checked, they're
I'm looking through all my notes. I'm looking through. I've got the Rawlings Heart of the High portfolio. I got all my stuff. I got everything. Mariners and that's right. He owes me dinner. Huh. Let's go over this again. Ronald Acuna Jr., who they had to in extra innings pick up the bag and give him a ceremony. I think you honor your players. You don't honor the players during the game. I know Ricky Henderson back in the day. This is a game people are trying to get to the playoffs. Cubs are trying to get to the playoffs. Extra innings, and you're picking up the bag and going, pick up the bag, bring the new bag out. But the video tribute, it was like, really? What are we doing there? Mr. 40-70 hit a $143. 0 home runs. Matt Olson. Matt Olson led baseball in home runs. Matt Olson is now, whether you call this fair or not, has been in 6 playoff series. Yes, we have to count the 1 wild card games that he played in 18 and 19. But he's had 6 different trips to the postseason. 4 of them, he didn't hit a home run. Now, 2 of those were 1 game. I get it. But Matt Olson's not a beast in the postseason by any stretch of the imagination. Matt Olson had 54 home runs, 139 RBIs this year. All Braves records. 0 extra base hits. 0 in this series. 0. Not a home run, not a double. He had a ton of doubles, ton of home runs. 0. Ozuna had 40 home runs this year. He hit a $154. I think that was an unbelievable explanation by Hembo because it's so true in sports. What we call it a lot of the time is one-dimensional. When you are a one-dimensional club, this is what we do. This is how we impose our will on you. Because part of that intensity we were talking about, Ray, and you as a fighter know this, I have great intensity, but I want to impose my will on you. Like as a fighter, if you go into a fight and you know there's only one way the guy can beat you and you take that away, what does that do for you, your confidence?
Puts the sky high. You got to put him in an uncomfortable position. And as fighters, you got to train to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. But again, if they take away their best weapon I'll make myself an example. My kicks are my best weapon. But if someone keeps crowding me and taking away that range, I have to adjust, either get out of the range that I'm more comfortable in, or I have to play in the pocket for a little bit.
It's kind of like the MMA guys, right? Some the wrestlers want to get to the ground. They don't necessarily want to go fist. They're not hand-to-hand combat guys, so they want to get you to the ground. And while there's other fighters, they don't want to be on the ground because they're not a wrestler. That's where the styles make fights in MMA. And the only reason I know that is because I called some MMA fights, and I was not very good at it. I'll be honest. They were just using my name. But it was – I enjoyed it. Because you saw the styles, right? There's some guys who immediately they want to get their hands on you and get you to the ground because that's their only chance. They do not want to stand there. And because if you're somebody who can really fight, that's why I did an event one time that was kickboxing and MMA. It's what I love. Kickboxing to me, I wish was what's the K1? Was it the Japanese league?
Yeah, K1, now there's Glory, and one championship is probably the go-to for just straight up stand-up only kickboxing.
It is, to me, it is the best form of fighting because you have literally dudes who are legit boxers and can kick the crap out of you. And those welts that they put on guys' thighs, and it is truly such a great form of fighting because once you go to the ground, it's like that's what always has gotten me about MMA is it gets to the ground. I'm like, I love when guys stand up and I'm punching you, I'm kicking you. The kickboxing to me is a great art form.
Yeah, it's literally, I wish it was bigger, to be honest. Like, there's a good market for it, but there's a bigger market for mixed martial arts like UFC, and there was Bellator, and one championship kind of does what you describe, where they mix Muay Thai kickboxing and they have the traditional mixed martial arts. They even have grappling only fights, submission only fights, so there's a little bit of everything in that. So I think that's what's the best about combat sports in general. You get all this variety, but you can't go into a fight where everything's allowed and you're only good at one single thing without any sort of adjustment ability whatsoever. Going back to our point that Hembo made, you can't be one dimensional.
Yeah, you're done. You're done. It's like it's and it doesn't matter what sport it is. It's like back in the day when you're playing Nebraska or Oklahoma. It was really tough to do. It's easier said than done. But if you could, like Miami did it against Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, if you can stop the run, which you could stop their wishbone, and you made Oklahoma have to throw the football. Well, they were only throwing the football 6-8 times a game. If now Jamel Holloway, that's a name going back you probably don't even know, but Jamel Holloway was the king of the option, and Charles Thompson was the other guy. If you made them have to be passers, these guys, they're running the option, man. It's the dive, come down the line. They're running wishbone. Who is it? Steve Rogers was at Nebraska. It's like if you made their option quarterbacks be drop back passers, they were done. They were done. And it's the same thing, too, with teams that just sit in shotgun and they just want to throw the football. Well, all of a sudden, if you've got a great pass rush, the only way to stop a good pass rush is a run game and screens. And if you can't run the ball and they're just rushing your passer, it's a rush and cover league, game's over. So I thought that was a great call by Hembo. All right, we've been going for – the reason why I'm looking over is normally Cody's here to my right, and I can just focus. I have to look at my timer over it. We've been going for over an hour. Wow. All right, we got to pay some bills. But I tell you, there's so much – great information out there right now. And coming up next, I hate him. You hate him. But I have a note on the Houston Astros that really tells you what they've been doing, how incredible it is. I hate to give this to you. I don't want to, but I have to. And our national baseball columnist, Eno Saris from The Athletic, all coming up next right here on A's Cast Live. This is Chris Townsend and Commander Cody for Link Soul. You got to go to their website right now, linksoul.com. The new polos are unbelievable. New colors, lighter weight. We got our new summer shipment, Cody.
I couldn't be happier. I look better. All thanks to Link Soul.
So we're talking about new polos. You can check out their shorts. Anything you need for summer, they have it right now. When you go to their website, they've got a smoking summer deal. Go to linksoul.com. That's linksoul.com.
Hey, it's Eno Saris, your friendly neighborhood baseball scribe. There are two things I love, baseball and beer. When I'm not busy around the ballpark, you'll likely catch me back with a cold one at any of Fieldwork Brewing's 8 locations sprinkled across the Bay Area. Fieldwork's got a rotating lineup of over 20 beers on tap that's as diverse as any 26-man roster. They got everything from super juicy hazy IPAs to crisp pilsners and tropical sours that make your taste buds do the wave. Whether you're all about that draft life or prefer to grab some cans to go, Fieldwork's got your bases covered. Check them out at fieldworkbrewing.com to learn more. That's fieldworkbrewing.com.
Thanks to the Xfinity 10G network, my little brother's friends won't leave our house. When I was their age, internet with basically no interruptions was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Now through December 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Switch today. Requires paperless bill and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Chevron with Techron has unbeatable engine cleaning power, and it gives you unbeatable mileage for all kinds of unbeatable destinations. Like time in the sun at the beach, or time in the sun riding roller coasters, or a day in the sun hiking mountains. Well, probably just one mountain would be enough for a day, but hiking a mountain is still an unbeatable choice for how to spend time. Download the Chevron app now to get unbeatable mileage at locations near you.
This is Chris Townsend, and if you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see my friends at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Hey folks, Vince Cotroneo here to explain why Cinnabar Hills Golf Club on the hills of San Jose is my favorite place to play. With 27 holes to choose from, any level of player will love it. It's the best place to play in Silicon Valley. At the Turn, I've enjoyed the menu from the grill of the newly renovated restaurant, not to mention a 19th hole experience to relive the day. The expanded clubhouse will service all your needs, and best of all, you can plan any event, including weddings at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club with some of the most amazing views of the Bay Area. Visit CinnabarHills.com. That's CinnabarHills.com.
Hey, Billy, this deck is great for getting everyone together.
Thanks. We're really enjoying the outdoor space, especially on a day like today.
What's the material?
Humboldt Redwood from Ashby Lumber. They gave us a great deal, provided us with a quick quote, and we couldn't be happier. We even found a great contractor through their online contractor directory.
Don't miss a day outdoors. Visit Ashby Lumber in Berkeley or Concord to see our stock of naturally strong, naturally beautiful Humboldt Redwood. Find out more at ashbylumber.com for all your building needs. Ashby Lumber.
Innovation. It's at the core of Cal State East Bay, like at our Green Biome Institute, where faculty and students preserve genetic information from California's endangered plants, or how we open doors for local entrepreneurs at our Small Business Development Center. From educators to nurses to STEM professionals, Cal State East Bay has real impact throughout the region's neighborhoods, boardrooms, and the entire economy. Be part of the innovation. Connect with Cal State East Bay at csueastbay.edu/impact.
When Northern California businesses need some pop in their lineup, they call the bank rooted in the East Bay, Mechanics Bank. Since 1905, Mechanics Bank has been helping Bay Area and Northern California businesses find success and perform at the top of their game. See how they can make a difference in your business today. Call or stop by your local branch or visit mechanicsbank.com. Mechanics Bank, the official East Bay bank of the Oakland A's. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game times, schedules, and more.
Streaming from the town, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
I leave that up there, Ray. You see that? I'm actually texting the head of tickets right now. You know how nice it's going to be to get back down to Arizona? Because we're going to be coming out of winter. I don't know if we're going to have as wet a winter. That was a historic. You know, all these years they talked drought. Threatened us with drought. We're going to have no water. And now we got so much rain. Reservoirs all the way full, historic levels. I want to see what they do with all this water now. Since you warned us this drought all these years, what are you going to do? Because you can't just turn around and go, oh, we sold all the water and it's all gone now. No. Don't be telling me we're in a drought anytime soon after we just filled all the reservoirs. But anyway, we come out of We come at it. Put it back. Can you put it back up? Look at that. The 2024 spring training schedule. Saturday the 24th. Then you got what could be the home games in green. If you're listening, athletics.com/A'sCast, I apologize. For all of you watching, whether it's YouTube, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, thank you for watching. But if you're listening, I'll throw it at you. So the 24th of February at home against Colorado. Then it could be the world champion Arizona Diamondbacks. Could be, right? At least a Final Four team. Then you got the Giants, the Padres. Bob Melvin will be back. Who's going to be the manager of the Giants, Ray?
It's a good question. Craig
you
Counsell.
don't know, huh? Bring back Ron Wotus. I hope it's Ron Wotus. I love Ron Wotus. I've done some events with him. I get to see him over at NBC. Oh, I don't think I'll have time to get to it today. If there was anybody who went out over their skis, Alana Rizzo, and it's made its way around. And I don't like to talk about other people in our business, but Alana Rizzo got so out over her skis. I guess of course, she's on high heat with our guy, Chris Russo, the Mad Dog. I guess she was backpedaling today faster than Deion Sanders back in the day.
Yes.
This whole thing, if you want me to go in on players and clubhouse and what their rights are, I will go into it. I have facts. And the last thing you want to hear is someone whose professional career has been a TV cheerleader trying to act like they're the biggest reporter/journalist all time. Stay in your lane, especially when you're doing this on a show from your house. Texas and Bruce Bochy, March 3rd. Guardians on the 7th. Then you got Royals, Seattle, Giants, Milwaukee, White Sox, Chicago, Cincinnati, Angels. And then before you know it, it's March 25th. And we got the Bay Bridge Series. So, spring training tickets on sale right now. Ray, how do you get them?
Go to athletics.com/spring. Athletics.com/spring.
And you're going to see that guy, Zach Geloff, first game. I can't wait because we will do we'll do a show before the game. I wrote it down. February 24th, Saturday against Colorado, the first spring training game. Get your tickets now. Don't forget Fantasy Camp. Athletics.com/fantasy. We'll be there. A's Cast Live will be there. So we got a bunch of big dates coming up here in the offseason. But make sure spring training tickets, get them now. All right. So I have to give this to you because it is pretty incredible. It is pretty incredible. When I saw it, I went, I got to have this for the peeps today. The Astros advancing to the ALCS. So for all the people that for some reason want to say these teams that win 100-plus games, once again, first 2 years of expanded postseason, 7 teams have won 100 games or more in the regular season. 6 of them didn't win a playoff series. I think we now can all, and there's going to be people who debate me on this, and I'll go, that's great. Regular season stats, regular season records, they're overrated. You're putting too much value in it. Too many of these games are random May, April, June, July openers. Guys, you're pitching young players. Certain teams suck. The Angels are using 66 players. The A's have 24 different starting pitchers. Stop it. Stop this holy grail of the regular season. It's a joke. So these 100-plus win teams are failing in the postseason. Well, how about the Astros? Why are they not failing the postseason? You threw the 2020 COVID season, Adam. They didn't have a great year, but they got in the postseason, and they made it to the ALCS at Petco Park against the Rays. Cheating scandal, whatever you put in front of the Astros, scheduling, games, time off, COVID, doesn't matter. They win. They win. The Astros advanced to the ALCS for the 7th consecutive season. In 1969, Major League Baseball became the last of the 4 major North American professional men's sports leagues. That's the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and baseball, 1969, to expand its postseason to at least 4 teams. None of us were alive. Well, some of you may have been alive. I wasn't. Ray wasn't. 1969, the A's go to 4 teams. Since that year, 1969, the only other teams in any of those leagues to reach the semifinal round 7 or more years in a row are as follows. The Lakers in 1981-82 to 1988-89. The Braves 8 times like the Lakers. 1991 to 1999. And the Patriots 8 years in a row, 2011, 2018. That's it. Lakers, Braves, Patriots, Astros. We're talking Showtime Lakers. We're talking the Braves that had Hall of Famers. And we're talking Patriots led by Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I don't know about you, Ray, but Ray is from the East Coast. Ray is a big sports fan. Ray, when you're linked to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Pat Riley, and the Showtime Lakers, when you're connected with Bobby Cox, Hall of Famer, Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox, Chipper Jones, great players, and arguably, I would say he's one of the greatest football coaches of all time in Bill Belichick and the greatest quarterback of all time. You're a Jets fan. You know what it's like to play Tom Brady. When you're connected to the Showtime Lakers, the Braves of the 90s, and the Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's not a fluke by any means. That's an impressive company, and it's as you said, they have not gone through it a traditional way. It's not been a breeze for the Astros, and I know you can hate them all you want if you're a baseball fan because of the cheating scandal, but the Astros have been a legit franchise in the major leagues for some time now, and they've proven it. The way they go about their business, we've highlighted it a lot in the show, Townie, how they've built up this team, and not even just built it up, but to reload again and again and not really miss a beat.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about this is when we talk about all the different things about the adversity, we even forget about, God, I forget his name, the assistant GM and the whole thing with domestic violence and the whole, when he came in and into the clubhouse and was screaming at the reporters, he ended up getting fired because of it. I can't remember his name. Talkman, was that his name? Brandon Talkman. Why does that name? Dang it. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can look at it.
I think it's Brandon Taubman.
Taubman? Something like that. Can you look it up real quick?
Yeah. Brandon Taubman, assistant general manager, fired for inappropriate comments about the acquisition of closer Roberto Osuna, directed at female reporters.
Yeah. That kind of gets me back to, I want to get to, if I have time, this whole thing that the clubhouse is the players. It's their sacred space. It's like, dude, shut up. You're an employee. It's a room that they allow you to dress, work out, and you own nothing. I don't know if today's the time, because I know we got Eno, but this whole, it's their sacred place. No, it's not. You own nothing. You own nothing, especially when you're a visiting player. You own nothing. You know who owns these places? The taxpayers and the clubs. The people who invested the money own it. And you know how I know why? Because one of these jackasses goes in and beats up a sink or beats up a toilet or rips a bathroom door off or does anything stupid. You know what happens? They get a bill. You got to pay for it. So no, it isn't your sacred space. No, you do not own it. And all you are is a seasonal employee. When you sign on the dotted line, I'm so-and-so. Bryce Harper, 13 years. He's got the longest deal going. 13 years, Bryce Harper. Guess what? He's a seasonal employee. We, Ray and I, we're actually full-time employees. They're seasonal. They get paid seasonal. And you think they own the clubhouse? It's their sacred place, especially as a visiting team. What? Trust me, I've traveled with the A's. I've traveled with the Raiders. You think in football, you bring in this mass amount of human beings, they dress, go out and play a game, come back, shower, get on buses and leave. You think that's their sacred place? I love how baseball is so arrogant. Baseball is so clueless. Oh, this is their sacred place. No, it's not. It's a place that when you sign on the dotted line, we provide a room, we provide workout equipment, we provide showers, we have places to get ready. That's all it is. It's not your sacred place. You have access. You think you don't have 24 access to it. You think right now somebody in Major League Baseball can just show up, give me a ballpark. Detroit, I want to get into my sacred space. What do you think at Comerica Park, what the security would say to Brent Rooker if he wanted to show up to his sacred place in the visiting clubhouse? What do you think security would say? Who are you? And beat it. Sacred space. I'm so tired. They're employees just like we are. They're entitled to be in there all the time. We're entitled to be there only at certain times. But no one's entitled. None of this is yours. You own nothing. And you know what happens when the season's over? You pack your crap up and you take it. Because if you leave it there, guess what? It may not be back when you get there. So tired of hearing about their sacred. Oh, it's so sacred. 66 Angels played this year. Is it that sacred that 66 nobodies ran through their clubhouse? Stop it. So tired of hearing that. This will be perfect. I love the fact that we had him on. We've established a very good relationship with Torey Lovullo, the manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. We first did it, I want to say, it's either 2018. Was it 2018? Might have been 2018, might have been 2019, where we interviewed him at the winter meetings. We weren't even on video then. A's Cast was in its infancy, and Torey, being a former A, we brought him on at the winter meetings. He was great. And since then, we've developed a really good relationship with him. He demands that his PR people make, because, sometimes we get a manager and the manager goes, hey, you can only get him by phone. Okay. We understand, right? We understand. Torey demands from his PR people to make sure they set up a computer and he has to be on video. That's the kind of guy Torey is for us. He will, guys will always be on. So, we were hugging last time at the winter meetings. Last time we saw him this past winter meeting. This guy, former A, but what he has done, I want to play for you. When the Diamondbacks were in town, Torey came over to our set, and we talked about the 4 things that he cares about. I got it written down, but see the swinging A's thing? I got it written down on the back, so I never forget when he told us. Love, trust, commitment, and effort. I can't wait to ask Eno Saris, where's that in his Stuff Plus and his analytics? Before we get to Eno Saris, here is Torey Lovullo on A's Cast Live.
Culture is important. I think when you go out there and it's a cohesive unit and they believe in the same thing, and culture is really about bringing people together for one common reason, and that's to go out and win baseball games and just push forward daily. So it's like starting a new business, right? You take a chance and you do things and say things and you wonder how somebody's going to respond to it. You back it up with some good thoughts or ideas, and the next he's talking about it. And that's kind of what's going on. We have a couple words in our culture that you don't use every day. It's love, trust, commitment, and effort. You say love in sports, it throws people off, but I was watching the Super Bowl when the Rams won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Every single player, I think McVay was mic'd up. They went up to him, hugged him, and said, "I love you, coach. I really love you." And I think that's where it starts with us. When you talk about building something special, it's got to be really deep inside of the heart.
Love, trust, commitment,
and effort.
Do you have Ray? What do you have? Because I saw when the series was over, Lauren Shahadi or who I can't remember who it was interviewed him right after the game, and the first thing he talked about was love. Do you have that? What do you have about Torrey right after the game?
I have his chat with MLB Network, the crew after the fact. Plesac, Chris Taylor, Amsinger. He was talking about the win, them clinching against the Dodgers, and they brought up the pool jump from 2013, and the Dodgers jumped in the pool at Chase, and how the Diamondbacks turned that around this year in 2023. Have a couple clips from that interview.
All right, is Zeno here yet?
He is.
All right, we'll do that after.
Sounds good.
Do we have the man? You have the man's open?
I absolutely do.
The Eno Sarah Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Eno, I noticed some things lately. It started to get a little chilly. I had to tee off early yesterday, and the beanie cap came out. Sweater is like, Jesus, you can see your breath. All right, well, the weather, it's fall, baby. Before we start talking baseball, where do we start to change? Do we start getting we get a little thicker with our beers? What are we doing here?
One thing that I think about when I think about winter is oak for some reason, or like wood. I think about like fires,
burning wood. Yeah.
I think about fires. So I get into a lot of the oak aged stuff. So there's oak aged stouts that you can have that kind of maybe some chocolate and caramel and some oak aging to it. So some wood background to it. But also I helped a bunch of people win their leagues. So I got a bunch of beer sent to me from around the country this week. And they happen to send me a lot of sours. And so I know that sours really turn some people off, but there could be a really cool collaboration of sort of like fruit, like berries and oak and tartness that when it's perfect, when it's done really well, I really like it. So, and that could be a fall thing.
Wait a minute. So you help guys win their fantasy baseball leagues?
And then they send me beer.
And in return, you say, I don't want your money. Send me beverages.
I don't usually suggest it. Like sometimes they're like, what's your address? And, maybe I shouldn't give that out, but usually it's, somebody that's been interacting with me on Twitter all year. And I can tell they're somebody that's going to send me some good beer.
Well, because let's face it, we're getting to, it's like, we're already starting to see it, right? So you start getting into party mode, right? Like next thing you know, you're going to start having parties.
Oh yeah, all the holiday parties. Yeah,
you're having buddies over for football games.
Yeah,
you got all this stuff going on, and it's nice to be like, oh, what would you like to drink?
Yeah, I've got my beer fridge is really, really full right now.
Yeah, you're a grown ass man. You got a beer fridge in your garage.
It's not like a college like little fridge. I got a full sized beer fridge.
You're a grown man. I respect that about you. Honey, do not put any meat. Do not put it. That is a fridge for beer and beer only. That's a grown man right there.
Only a little room in the freezer for like extra stuff down there. Some coffee and some backup pizzas. You can have the freezer. I can't put any beer in the freezer. You can have the freezer.
I love it. All right. Our Final Four is here. It is an interesting Final Four. Let's start in our neck of the woods. I've been saying it all along. I just had this whole thing. You got 7 straight years in the ALCS. You got the Astros being mentioned with the Showtime Lakers, the Braves of the 90s, and Belichick and Brady and the Patriots. When you start getting to this many championship series, you've had a lot thrown at them. They've had scandals. They've had issues, COVID. the COVID year. It's like no matter what
And
you throw at these.
It's easier to be a dynasty in other sports. It's like literally easier to be a dynasty in other sports because, I saw this new research that's really interesting that if you look at the NBA, let's look at the NBA for example, and you say, how often does the better team, and there's some subjectivity there and you have to figure things out, but let's say how often does the better team advance in the NBA 80% of the time out of a 5-game series or out of a 7-game series in the playoffs, 80% of the time. In order to match that number in baseball, you'd have to have a best of 75 game series.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But I think that people within baseball and people that play it every day sort of have a sense of that. I know that there's different opinions on clutch and being built for the postseason or not. But I think that most players realize you get into October and then anything can happen. And I think that's another way of saying it's pretty random. And so I think it's therefore harder.
You know what I say to that?
Yeah.
Perform. Some people perform when it matters. Some people don't. That's when the thing that I have a problem with the regular season, since I actually work the regular season, for a lot of people that I noticed, and I kind of had this thought that maybe a lot of the analytics, you call them baseball nerds, I call them analytics guys. I think they need to go away when it comes to October and go sit in a room by themselves, because I'm at the ballpark every day. I know what a mundane, routine, same old sport. We play way too many games. It's based off money. It's the same thing day after day. I've been joking all day. Angels used 66 different players this year. A's, we had 24. You know what? Stop telling me how great you are in Kansas City in July, all right? This is taking players out of the mundane, out of the routine. You stay in the same hotels. It's the same buses. It's the same. Baseball, we're the most routine. Now we're taking you out of your routine, and now you got to perform. By the way, for the Braves, let's take the Braves since they're not on TBS anymore. No, but we're not watching the Braves out here. We're working when the Braves are playing at 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Now, for the first time, the country's watching you. The bright lights are on you. They didn't perform. Dodgers didn't perform. We've had these 100-win teams, 700-win teams. In the last 2 years, only one team has moved on. So it's like, how really big are regular season? Is that really that great of an indicator for when it's prime time? You got to show up at your best. What you did in April and May and June, is it really an indicator?
I think it's random, man. I just tweeted today. There was a 5-day segment in April in which Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, and Mookie Betts all combined to have like a 500 OPS. It was a random 5 days in April, and they had a 500 OPS. Now in October, now that the same foursome does the same thing, now it's really meaningful. But we didn't sit there tearing our hair out in April, being like, "What's wrong with these guys?" So
because it's April, no one cares. They tell you they don't care because in April they all go tomorrow. See, you got to realize.
It's just random, dude. It's just random.
They say it to us all the time. Tomorrow. It's tomorrow. We can play tomorrow. I'm 0 for 4. I got tomorrow. There is no tomorrow in the postseason. Every single play matters. This isn't Kansas City in July.
I understand that. I just think it's random. I just think it's random.
So what's random about the Astros?
I think that they're really good, and they've gotten in a lot. And one time they cheated. I mean, if you take the cheating one away, and I'm not saying they should vacate that. I'm not saying that at all. But let's say there's enough people who do say that, and let's just take that one away. Then there's very little difference between them and the Dodgers. They both get to the postseason all the time. They both have a championship. It's like
Is it better for the Astros that it happened first and now they've had all these years since?
I don't know.
Like
I mean, and the Dodgers,
2017, it's like
Dodgers were listed by some people as being a sign stealing team. So I don't even know who was cheating back then.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
saying take it away. And I don't want to take away anything from the Astros. I think they prepare really well. I think they develop really well. They scout really well. They do everything really well. So, that it doesn't surprise me. But this is what I'm saying. It's so hard to be a dynasty in baseball that I think the Astros are a dynasty, and they have 2 titles in 5 years or something. And then think about dynasties in basketball where you have guys like, Jordan winning like 3 in a row. And like you have guys just like winning back-to-back titles and winning 5 out of 6 or whatever it is, So it's like, it's a lot harder in baseball. So I also grew up in Atlanta. So like, if you get to the postseason a lot and you get a championship, I consider that, I don't know if that's a dynasty, maybe you need 2 or 3, but like, it's really hard to have a dynasty in baseball.
Well, I got to tell you, this matchup between the Astros and the Rangers, I mean, look at both managers. They've won a ton. These two teams, they don't like each other. And the state of Texas,
I think it's going to be great. I mean,
yeah, right. Talk about this matchup because it's a matchup that we know really well. I mean, Rangers, Astros. I mean, you look at that Rangers lineup. I mean, that thing is just ferocious. I mean, Evan Carter, we saw him, he didn't make his debut against us. It's like he made his debut, I think, the series before us. So, preparing for it, I got to see him early. He looks like he's 120 pounds and can't play. This kid rakes.
Yeah.
Young,
he's got a really good eye.
Rakes. I mean, the whole lineup rakes, and they're pitching when we thought their pitching wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah, there is one thing that I was thinking about, when you were talking about, July and we don't care about July and this is a different time. One thing that does make it hard, and even when I'm saying like, oh, the better team advances 80% of the time, one thing that is actually pretty hard, I've been doing a lot of predictions and I have to do these predictions for The Athletic for, each series and stuff. It's actually hard to know how good a team is right now. And you can use season stats, but you can't really use season long stats because it doesn't matter really what, I'm not thinking of the 5th starter. Like, it doesn't really matter what your 8th reliever, how good your 8th reliever was. It does matter during the season. That guy might buy you a couple wins, because he keeps you in a game or whatever this.
He might close some games.
Yeah, like your best prospect that came up and played, for a little bit and then went back down and is not on your playoff roster, that guy was really important, but he's not important now. He's not on this playoff roster. It doesn't matter anymore. Like your best 5 players in AAA that did play, at different times and were helpful for you winning games, they're not on the roster anymore. They don't matter. Even your 5th starter doesn't even matter. So, like it is harder to figure out who's actually better. And this is relevant.
And then, by the way, everything you just said just goes back to my point of being the kings of the regular season. You talk about the randomness.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about random Angels players played a factor in both the Astros and the Rangers.
Their records.
Mariners seasons, right?
Them being bad,
we
yes.
Played a big part in their there's so much randomness. But as you said, it's like now it's the best. This is the best you got that you're bringing through.
Right. So there is something to that because you really do want to compare, who's actually playing to who's actually playing. That's difficult in the series. What you have is this lineup, this Rangers lineup, the way it is now, is the best it's been all season. They didn't have Evan Carter all year. Then now they have him. They didn't have a healthy Josh Young. Now they do. So they're healthy. They're all together. They're all playing really well. So this lineup, I will take the Rangers lineup over the Astros lineup. I think the Astros lineup is pretty good. Yordan Alvarez might be the best hitter in baseball, but in terms of full lineup, I'm taking the Rangers lineup. Then on pitching side, it would be really easy if you look at the regular season numbers to say, okay, well, I'm taking the Astros because the Rangers bullpen was like the worst in baseball for the last the last month or whatever.
Awful.
But they were playing some people that they're not playing anymore. They got it down to like 3 relievers they trust. It's like Hector. What is it? It's Jose Leclerc, Aroldis Chapman, and I don't even know. I can't even think of the 3rd guy right now. But they only really trust 3 guys back there. It's Spores, and so they really trust 3 guys, and they've given almost all their innings to those 3 guys and their starters. Now you hear Max Scherzer is in the series, and while I still give the Houston Astros the edge on pitching, it's tighter than I think you might have said, if you look at full season numbers. The Rangers are doing the Nationals thing. They were like, we have 8 pitchers we trust, only 8 pitchers, and we're just going to pitch our 8 pitchers every time we can win. And that's all we've got.
I started the show with intensity because Ray, who's filling in today for Cody, is a trained fighter, mixed martial arts. And we talked about intensity and imposing your will on an opponent. And there's something about intensity. And I brought up Warriors, I brought up the Niner game, and if you look at the intensity that the teams, the 4 that we have left, that they have played with, that you did not see from the Rays. The Rays have gone 2 straight postseasons. They're duds. 33 straight innings. At one point, they didn't score a run. The Blue Jays are just nothing in the postseason. They've been terrible, right? Dodgers, Braves, they didn't match the intensity that the Phillies bring at you is unbelievable. I mean, look at
fans help too. Yeah.
You can talk about the home runs of the Rays, but the Rays bring intensity. There's just base running and defense, and they're on you and constantly on you. And that's something that I think, once again, you can't measure. You're not going to have that for a full season of 6 months playing every single day.
But how do you kick that up in the postseason?
But in the postseason, the certain teams that get it, now we're talking about my God, Citizens Bank Park is now statistically the greatest home field advantage we've ever seen in Major League Baseball history, minimum of 20 games. There's something about intensity. You can't say that these 4 teams that we've got left, that they haven't brought it.
Right. But answer me this as a player, because, when you're playing basketball, in football, I think there's almost zero negativity towards being more intense. Like if you're you're in terms of like, you're tight and energetic and angry or whatever. Like I would see that, the only thing that I could think is like maybe a quarterback, wanting to place that ball perfectly. If he's like too tight, maybe that's not good.
Yeah,
but almost every other player, like if they run faster, they have more energy and they're more intense, it's probably good. Basketball, I think, jump shot is a little bit of a finicky thing, but I still think intensity in those sports is more positive than negative. In baseball, as a player, do you think that like ramping up the intensity all the time is a benefit to your mechanics, to your ability to play baseball? Like as a pitcher, when you were really at your most ramped, did you lose command? Did you
No.
were there negative aspects to it?
There's a difference between out of control and total focus and adrenaline. Right? Out of control, yes. You can be the most intense football player, but if you don't know your assignments and you're not reading the thing, you're worth.
You could still get in trouble there too.
It's still being in the moment, but man, this isn't July in Kansas City, right? That the greatest example for me in the postseason is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. getting picked off by Sonny Gray on a 3-2 pitch when he's not even the lead runner. That doesn't happen July in Kansas City. That happens in the postseason.
And he needs to match the intensity of the defense.
That's the baseball IQ. That's the magnitude of the moment. And to me, that just shows Vladimir Guerrero out of shape, low baseball IQ. That was one of the dumbest plays you'll see.
But yeah, even Bo running through a stop sign at third base, there was some weird stuff on the base pass there.
Matt Chapman doesn't hit again. There's a shocker in the postseason.
But again, like you're still like some of those problems could have come from intensity. Maybe Vlad was leaning because he really wanted to score and he really wanted to like have that extra step in case there was a ball in play.
Can't match the other teams because the other team had it, because Carlos Correa is a high IQ, intense player in the postseason, right? It's like there's something about these teams that when you're playing the Phillies, they're on you. Phillies right now are on 2 straight postseasons. They're on you. There's something about these guys that they match the moment with their play on the road, at home. You don't want to play them. And the Astros have done it for years.
One of the reasons I was asking about you and about pitching and command in particular is, I grew up watching Smoltz and Avery and Glavine. And I had Smoltz on my podcast one time. And I said, in the postseason as a kid, I was a Smoltz guy. and I was like, let me tell you why I thought you were the one I wanted in the postseason. I said Glavine depended on the umpire. He needed to have command where he could stretch that zone. And if the umpire wasn't going to give it that, then he was, it was a little bit harder for him. And Maddox, even with his great command in the postseason, almost everybody gets an adrenaline bump when it comes to velo, right? But when Maddox didn't always have the same amount of command, given that he was now throwing with an extra mile an hour, like he wasn't necessarily that type of pitcher. So the extra mile an hour didn't always help him. He wasn't the most amazing postseason pitcher, but Smoltz was fire and brimstone, normally. And then he got an extra mile an hour in the postseason, and he was like, "Oh, I love this," yeah, let's throw with the extra gas. And so I just thought his game was ready for it. Now, baseball has trended towards Smoltz and away from Maddox. I think we've got more Smoltzes in the world. It's so funny because he's so mad about where baseball is right now. But it's like, in terms of pitching, we're a lot more like him. Like elevated four seam, sliders, power, velo, strikeouts. That was Smoltz. But any case, I would say that like there are some pitchers where that extra velo may not be good. And so that extra intensity may not be good. So it just thought, it was a thought I had that in baseball in particular, yes, focus is great. And yes, bringing it up a notch is great, but like there's some level of intensity that's too far. And
I would agree with that. Yeah. You're out of control. Yeah. But there's something that you feel. It's like, why do certain golfers, they rise to the occasion in the majors? They rise like they looked forward. They love the idea of walking on the grounds at Augusta. They love the U.S. Open. Like they're not out of control. I'm not saying you're being out of control, but there's the intensity of like, I've trained for this. I've lived my whole life for this. This is what it's all about. And then you got the guys who just flay away and they hit a $143 and we make excuses for why they failed. You don't match the moment, man. Like Ronald Acuna Jr. is incredible.
He's a match the moment guy, dude. You don't think so?
What has Ronald Acuna Jr. ever done in the postseason?
I guess he wasn't there for that World Series.
No, They had the bad knee. It's tough to talk about failure. I'd rather talk actually about success with these guys because Diamondbacks. We always say Torey Lovello said on this show a while ago.
Corbin Carroll is the guy that you're describing, by the way.
The what?
Corbin Carroll is that guy you're describing.
Oh, totally.
He is a rise to the moment. That's something I saw during the regular season. Even he's very intense.
Torey Lovello, I got written down here on the back of this. Love, trust, commitment, and effort. That's what they believe in Arizona. Now they're tied for the most home runs. They're stealing bases. Their bullpen's been great. They got started. But there's something about these guys. There's sometimes things about groups of humans that connect and come together. The D-backs got that. It's a mojo series, right? Great mojo for the Phillies. Great mojo for the D-backs. This is interesting.
Yeah. And I think the D-backs are doing a slimming thing like the Rangers where they're better when they slim down. They didn't have a great bullpen. When they slim down to 3 or 4, it's a lot better. So I think that's something that's going on. But I did talk to Corbin Carroll during the season about togetherness and that camaraderie. And what's interesting is that it comes with effort. There is an effort associated with it, and he was putting that effort in. So he was talking about taking all the young guys out to dinner when they were on the road. Yeah. He had more money than them. He signed a bigger contract, but he was in the position as a young leader of the team to create that camaraderie. And he said that is a little bit of a bond that we can sort of foster, and we can be intentional about it and think about it. And that bond, binds us together more than anything that's just happening on the field. So this is something that Corbin Carroll thinks about. Like he thinks about how, if I talk hitting with this young guy that just came up, he may be back in the minor leagues again, but he's going to remember forever that I had an open door for him, and that, Corbin Carroll, like the star of the team, just talked hitting with me for a half hour, for no reason, just because he cares about me, and then he took me out to dinner. And, even his guy that got traded, Dominic Canzone, got traded to Seattle, even when it wasn't necessarily in his best interest, he put Dominic Canzone up in his parents' house in Seattle. So he's just this kind of guy that like cares about people around him. He's the kind of guy who remembers the names of your kids. You only met him once, that's what people tell me. So
leader, he's a leader.
Yeah. And so that intensity just rubs off. And I think, it's good that they have certain role players. I think Pham and Longoria are like kind of important older role players that have seen a lot of these things, and are the glue on that team. And Longo's been having a great postseason. But also, you need that star, and he is that star for them.
We don't have time today. We'll have to do this in the off season. I have to start calling out and showing people how absurd our game is. I did that earlier, the whole thing with Arcia, and then Alana Rizzo goes off on high heat. This whole thing of this sacred place of the clubhouse going. They don't own the clubhouse. The clubhouse is owned by the taxpayers and the teams, and they're allowed in the clubhouse. They're allowed to dress. They're allowed to train. I gave them the example. Oh, you're a player. You think you own the clubhouse? Go bust up the toilet. Go bust up the sink. Go ruin. By the way, they're going to fill your ass on the way out. Another thing that I like, I want to just show people out how it's just people in baseball are crazy. Right? Because you just said Corbin Carroll took these guys out. He signed the big contract. Yeah, because these guys making $750,000 a year can't afford a meal. Some of the things that go on in our game are just nuts that need to be called out. But
I did have a player who was on a minimum contract here be like, yeah, it is weird, that you're like your reference, state of reference just goes out the door. Like, I feel poor. And I was like, and I was like, I'm a writer, dude. And he was like,
yes,
yeah, I know, I know, but still, I feel poor in here.
hey, how tall are you?
6'2".
You're 6'2".
The average starting pitcher is around 6'1", I think.
Corbin Carroll is like how short?
He is, and I pointed that out to him. I said, "You're the shortest. There's like 3 guys shorter than 6 foot who've hit a ball 113 this year. You, Seiya Suzuki, and a couple other guys." And he said he doesn't do anything special. He does use a lighter bat, but yeah, he's a smaller guy.
That's what I'm saying. When you're in it, because Corbin Carroll this postseason's hitting .412, 1,389 OPS, 2 dingers, 4 RBIs, 6 runs, 2 stolen bases.
I think he's just so fun to watch because he's so whippy. He's whippy and fast, and he's so intense. I think he's one of my favorite young players.
Yeah. Well, speaking of young players, yeah, I saw this note. This is the highest minimum. There had to be 75 plate appearances, but guys being in the playoffs for the first time. So you're a rookie in the postseason. This is the highest OPS ever for rookies in the postseason. Guys playing their first year.
Wow.
The young guys, and some of them are veteran guys.
I think some of these rules are pro young players. You're thinking about, what did they do? They made it a more athletic game, right? So, there's that. I also, when I hear that, I think player development has gotten better, and so players enter the big leagues now more ready to go. There's some evidence of that. You can look at aging curves. Players used to get better and then get worse. And now we see more of players enter in a plateau and then go down. And so that's this sort of a little bit of evidence maybe that we're preparing players better for the big leagues.
It is really hard. I mean, because Paul Hembekides from ESPN was on before you, and he talked about in the 120 years of baseball, the team with the better record wins only 54% of the time.
That's the randomness I'm talking about, dude.
Why? Well, it's either that's randomness.
Baseball is the most random sport.
But you have to be honest. You look at it 2 ways. There's 2 sides of the street. You can call it randomness, or you could say regular season records are overrated. They don't translate.
I mean, there's a little bit of truth in both. But I would say it's mostly
because, like you've already said, I'm slim, and I'm going to quote you on this. I love we're slimming down. We're using less of our worst players, and we're now only using our better players. So why would it be random that we're now not using Joe Schmo that was in AAA? And how many Joe Schmoes in AAA? No offense to Joe Schmo in AAA, you're still a great player. We're slimming down to our very best. What's random about our very best playing the other team's very best?
The Melvin A's that did well in the regular season and maybe didn't so well in the postseason.
Our very best slimmed down wasn't as good.
Right, and they often did so well because their bench was good, and he was able to platoon and move those guys in. They had a good sort of 26, right? But in the playoffs, how many do you actually use? It's probably something like 18 or 19. So there's that big difference there. 7
Or how
players.
about this with the Dodgers? One of the reasons why the Dodgers, I remember, God, somebody explained this to me, but they said your 40-man roster. You got to have a 40-man. The Dodgers 40-man
A's
roster.
do the Rays do this. The Dodgers do this. They're
40-man
young
roster
guys
is
that come up
so
are pretty
strong.
good.
But then I go back to what you said. We're now slimming down, and that doesn't matter. So the slim down version, so we all went keto or whatever, and we slimmed down. And our slim down version is better than your 40-man, which the 40-man plays in 162, and it has no relevance in the postseason.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is you got to build both. I mean, you got to try and build a team that can win in the regular season because you got to get to the postseason, and you got to also build a team that can win in the postseason.
All right. It's very tough. Who do you like?
I picked the Phillies to win it all before the postseason started, and I'm sticking with that. I picked the Rangers of the Astros. I kind of get this, like I said, because I think this is a little bit random. I don't always look fully in the numbers when I make these picks. So for me, I get this kind of feeling that we might get like this Willis Reed moment from Max Scherzer.
Wow!
He sort of comes off the mat and throws 5 scoreless or whatever, and he does it in Texas and everyone's screaming, and something like that could be a way to beat the Astros.
You got Rangers, Phillies winning.
Yeah.
The Willis, by the way, folks, if you're young, Google Willis Reed, New York Knicks. You can figure that out.
I mean, I could have used Kirk Gibson,
True. I like the Willis Reed. That's a fan. All right, so Phillies, Rangers, could see it both. I'll just say this. You picked from the start the Phillies to win it.
Yeah.
I'm figuring knowing you, looked at how these guys performed last year in the postseason. How you think they're going to – not so much?
No.
So them winning –
I'll tell you what I looked at.
All right,
I looked at 3 things. 1, I think they had the best bullpen in the playoffs.
Okay. They got 5 guys with closing experience.
Yeah, and they all throw 98, so a lot of velo. I like that. They used to have a little bit of a defensive problem, but over the course of the season, I think they fixed that. Johan Rojas came up, I think that this is actually a decent defensive team that has options. They can put Kyle Schwarber DH, so I think they figured out one of their flaws. And then 2, they just got a great offense, and they always have. And that is true last year. That's true during their run last year. It's just a great offense. So great offense, great bullpen, and the defense got shored up. That's what I saw.
So pitch, hit, play D. None of that sounds random to me.
Yeah.
And that's the team you picked.
There's some slimming down too. Like Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler are a great 1-2 punch. They can go up there with anybody.
I love the slimming down call. That is a great call. All right. We will talk to you next week. We will be knee deep already in the ALCS and NLCS.
I like that it's a 7-game series. We're gonna it's a little bit closer to the regular season. There's gonna be people who are tired. They're gonna have to use people on back-to-back nights. They're gonna have to make decisions they don't want to make. There's definitely gonna be some of that.
Bochy can barely walk, and he's gonna wheel Max Scherzer out in a wheelchair. Scherzer's gonna get to the line, and he's gonna
somehow
get up,
through.
And the place is gonna go nuts.
Somehow get through 5 scoreless with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah. So they got to go get the wheelchair, wheel him back in every single time, and Scherzer's the star. Hey, how about it'd be great. Well, it would really be great, just because we know the inside a game, because we haven't had any games that are winner take all here.
I know, but that's the worst part of this postseason, I think.
How about a game 7, Scherzer,
Verlander? Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah. And as much as they say that, oh yeah, all that stuff from back in the day is water under the bridge. No, man, they will want to tear each other's heads off, dude. They'll screw 92. Scherzer will just pitch right through a torn shoulder and find a way to throw 96 that day.
It's very tough because they're both very similar. They're both that alpha. They're the alpha male, and it's tough to have that many guys on your team. That's why when you talk about roster construction, you may love names, you may love names, and you may love all this stuff, but as teammates, it doesn't work because they're the same guy who wants it. It just, and the personalities, they just don't mix.
Yeah.
And who knows personally what has happened? It would have happened in Detroit, which was a long time ago. But something happened where these dudes don't like each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that would be fascinating. These dudes don't like each other on teams that don't like each other. Like, are we gonna get a dust up? Like, should we call a dust up right now? Some sort of bench clearing brawl?
Dusty against Bochy, they can both barely move.
Please don't.
hey, next year, you know what we should do? We should do at field work. We should do the A's. We can't compete for money, obviously, but we have a A's fantasy league. We should do the draft at field work.
That's right.
And you and I do the team together.
Yeah, I like it.
And then we can go up against all these so-called A's smartersons.
I like it.
I like it. All right, we'll talk to you next weekend. So it starts Sunday, Monday. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.
All right, buddy. Be well. The great Eno Saris. We have his.
The Eno Saris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
You know, Ray, we've got a lot of great information today on this show. We had some smart people. And the whole himbo with the 54%, I loved Eno's the slimming down. Yeah, it's what you're doing. You're slimming down. Like all the stuff that you use for 6 months, now it's your very best. We're getting because we give you some days off. We can use the very best relievers. We can use the very best guys. We get, it's not that, you wonder why the A's stuff never works in the postseason. Well, the A's have always been very good at using a lot of different players. Now it's your very best. And the very best didn't match the moment. I do believe in the intensity. There is something about the intensity of every pitch, every play. I'm not saying being a madman, but there is something about that intensity. Bryce Harper matches the intensity. He's got that. Like the Phillies players got that. The D-backs got that. I mean, look at some of the intense playoff series the Astros have won and lost. It's the Rangers and the D-backs who are the guys who are seeing this for the first time. But the Astros and the Phillies, they understand this. They know what it's like. They've been a part of it.
It's one of those things I think where the experience factor plays a little bit of a difference here. And we'll see if that comes across in the NLCS, because I think the Diamondbacks, they have a little bit of experience. As Eno mentioned, they have guys like Tommy Pham and Evan Longoria who can kind of mentor these guys. Like Corbin Carroll, great athlete, but he's not experienced in the postseason. He's going to gain some valuable postseason experience here. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. And I really hope this fantasy Game 7 pans out, Rangers and Astros and Scherzer versus Verlander. I would love to see it as somebody who had both of those guys on his favorite team's roster for a little bit.
You want to sum up Mets this season? Because it's going to go away. I'm not going to allow it, though, because I think it needs to be talked about. Someone should write a book about it. You had a team, had an owner come in, the richest owner in baseball that we've ever seen, right? This is kind of the stuff we've seen in soccer. I'm learning more from my golf buddies who are all English guys and love soccer. But you had the richest guy come in. They had the largest payroll in American sports history. This is just not baseball. This is in America. No team has ever been paid more money than the New York Mets. And in a time where you're spending all this money, you also quit on the team. You quit on the team. You end up firing your general manager. He walked away. You fired him. You brought in somebody new, got rid of your manager. I mean, in the 6.5, 7 months that the Mets operated as a business is absolutely, if you really look at it, insane. It's absolutely insane. Your thoughts as a Mets fan?
It is insane to pump so much money into this product, go postseason or bust, and to just abandon ship when it's not going to happen. The ability to do that is ridiculous because we can maybe name one other franchise that could possibly pull a financial move like that, and they just happen to live or operate in the same area as the Mets do.
Unreal. Yeah, but the whole thing was like, oh my God, we got Scherzer, we got, and it's like, that didn't work out. But yeah, to see them, yesterday, Scherzer threw a 60 pitch. It wasn't a bullpen. He was it was basically a bullpen, but it was on the main mound there in Arlington. And they showed some video of it, and he was just grooving it. So if I'm going to think that you don't have the ability right now or the wherewithal to let it go, I don't know how he's going to factor in this. I got to think Eovaldi, if not Montgomery, will be the game one starter for the Texas Rangers. Yeah, I don't think you're going to – I mean, Scherzer, maybe in a few days he feels better. Maybe he's a guy that gives you some long relief. As of right now, I would just prepare. He's not starting a game.
Right.
I'm just preparing. He's not. I'm just this way. This is how, if something magically happens, okay. But right now, as a team, this is how we're preparing. This is how we're going forward. And I'm preparing that I'm not going to get one inning out of Max Scherzer. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you have to play it. I don't want to say play it safe, but anticipate the worst case scenario.
I am going to end this show. Are we overtime? We are overtime. Yeah, I am going to end this show today. I'm going dogs. It's a doggy dog world, and I'm wearing milk bone underwear, as Norm once said on Cheers. I'm going dogs. Give me the dogs all day, all night. I'm going Texas, and I'm going with my man, Torey Lovello in Arizona. I went with Arizona at the start of the season. I went with Arizona in the first round of the playoffs. I would have took them over the Dodgers, but we didn't have a show because they gave us the time off, and I'm taking them again. I believe love, trust, commitment, and effort will prevail. If Arizona takes down, you're talking about the best winning percentage ever for a venue, minimum 20 playoff games. Citizens Bank Park right now is by far the greatest home field advantage we have ever seen. We'll give it to you again. Philadelphia's won 5 of 6 games this postseason. They've outscored the Marlins and the Braves 31-10. They are 26-11 at Citizens Bank Park. That's the best postseason record in history of any team at a home venue, minimum 20 games. Philly has out-homered their opponents 29-8 while winning 10 of 12 games at Philly. Phillies have out-homered opponents 29-8 while winning 10 of 12 games at Citizens Bank Park over the past 2 postseasons. So they've completely out-homered you in their home ballpark. And Philly is 4-0 at home this postseason. You want Ray? They're 4-0 at home this year, and they've outscored their opponent 24-5.
It's pretty good.
I'm still going Arizona. What do you got?
Yeah, I have to say the D-backs as well on the National League side. I have too much faith in Torey Lovello, and as a Mets fan, I respect the Phillies. I can't root for them, so I have to go D-backs by default. And I'm going to stick with my original pick to make the World Series in the American League side, and that's the Astros. Yeah. They've just been here too often. This is business as usual for them. They're going to bring that intensity we talked about throughout this broadcast, and I think they'll finish the series with the Rangers how many ever games it takes.
Yeah, if they get into the World Series and win this thing, 3 World Series and 5 tries during this run. They've been to 4 World Series. They've won 2. It is a And I think this one's important for them. And I'm not gonna go doom and gloom on the Astros. I don't think that's smart. But I think how you saw at the very end, because we kept saying, oh, the Astros will be the Astros. Well, they never became the Astros that we know. The very end, this was no one wanted to reach out and seize the moment between the Rangers, the Astros, and the Mariners, right? They all kind of played well, didn't play well, play well, didn't play well. This one's really important for the Astros because, let's face it, Verlander's old. They're at a point to where Jim Crane can say last year that they have a 5-year plan to replace everybody. Everybody's going to be a little bit older. Pitching doesn't look as strong. Pitching wasn't great this year. And they came down to it at the very end with the Mariners and the Rangers. This Rangers team is going to be pretty strong for the next couple of years. I got to think Seattle is going to still kind of be up there. Hope to God at some point we will get the A's back going again. But the road's just going to keep getting tougher for the Astros. At some point coming up here, I'm not going to be shocked if next year they don't make the playoffs. I'm not going to be shocked at some point there is a step back. They've had a great run. This is no doubt an unbelievable run. And when you're, like I said, you're getting put with the Lakers, the Braves of the 90s, and the Patriots and Belichick and Brady, that tells you how great you've been. But it's going to end soon because teams are catching up. They've caught up. Look at next year. I don't know if you don't have if you're pitching. I mean, Tucker was great. Jordan's great. You still got Bregman. You still got Altuve. They had injuries because of the WBC. I get all that, but I'm not going to be shocked. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's the year after. At some point, there's going to be a little bit of a fall off. You're not going to keep this thing rolling forever. And then that will be okay. And Crane doesn't like to spend big money on players. So it's not like that's not their system. And I respect it. We've talked about how, being a model from a standpoint of we never go break the bank on a player. We say, Carlos Correa, we're going to offer you 100 and whatever million. He says, screw you. Okay, see you later. Thanks for coming. They have a value that they put on players. You either sign it or you move on. Thinking of, what the hell's his name in New York? Garrett Cole. They have a certain value. They're not going to overpay guys just to keep you. That's the brilliance of the Astros. But the end of the run will be here in the next couple of years, if not next year. So this one's really important that they get because you don't know when they'll get back. But things are going to change. Everything evolves in baseball. Teams are going to be coming.
Yep.
It's going to be different. I mean, look at these D-backs. Look at the Orioles, right? Like I said, the Orioles could fall off next year, but I have a feeling the Orioles will be strong again. But tell you what Eno said is so dead on. And today we learned a lot. I really like today's show because we learned a lot. Because we'll take this into the offseason like, yeah, you need that 40-man roster to be strong for the regular season, but when everybody slims down, what do you look like? We didn't look very strong. Look at our run in 12 of all those rookie pitchers that we were rolling out there, and we got hot, and 12 was a historic run. But when you slimmed us down, and you're throwing Tommy Malone and Jared Parker, and when you slimmed us down, and all of a sudden you look at 12 as a great example. 12 was built. Nobody hit more home runs than the A's from June 2nd on in 2012. No one hit. You slim us down, and all of a sudden we don't hit home runs. We're a one-dimensional team, can't score. Couldn't beat Detroit. One-dimensional. I mean, the A's are a great example. I mean, if you go through of how lack of Miguel Tejada and Eric Chavez hit throughout those years in the postseason, like there was one playoff series, Giambi actually had a high batting average. He had no home runs. Like, where were all the big home runs? Where were all this in the Moneyball era? You can really go back. If maybe we'd do that in the offseason. When you pare down the A's 2000, 2001, 2002. When you start paring them down, why did they never advance? Why did a group of players not advance? Why did we not advance in 12, 13, 14, or 18 and 19 were just one-off wild card games? But once again, Matt Olson didn't hit a home run. Matt Chapman didn't hit a home run. When you got into the pressure parts and everybody's watching you, I think the A's were a great example that we never did anything. The only time they ever did anything was the wild card series against the White Sox in the COVID year. That's it. They never matched anybody. Oh, wait a minute. When 06, give them 06. But it's an interesting, we can go back and look. And then I love the Paul Hembekides 120 years, team with the best record only wins 54% of the time. Yeah. All right, we will be back on Monday. So we will have, I actually have the schedule. We actually put out the schedule. So we will have Sunday, the ALCS. Monday, we will have both going, right?
Yep.
We'll have the NLCS and ALCS. So we'll be able to watch Sunday. And then we'll be back at 1 o'clock on Monday and see what kind of craziness we will have. Anything about your Jets? Anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you got there? Right.
I'm telling my Eagles friends as the Jets host the Eagles at MetLife this week, appreciate the free win because I have no faith that the Jets can stop Jalen Hurts. But maybe the Zach Wilson that showed up on Sunday night against the Chiefs shows up again.
Yeah, your season's over.
Yeah,
your season's over. Great stuff today. Unbelievable. By the way, just some quickies. I don't even know if I got these in. Teams that score first in the postseason are 15-7. Teams that out-homer their opponents are 14-1. You start to see it. By the way, teams with the 5 best record in the major leagues this year. You ready for this, Ray?
Hit me with it.
Braves, Orioles, Dodgers, Rays, Brewers combined to lose 13 of 14 playoff games. I told you I had so much information. I didn't have enough time to get it all in the show. Think about that. I could have gone all day with this. I've written down so much stuff. Teams with the 5 best records. This is what shows you. You could either be, you can be on one side of the street. You can be the randomness of the playoffs, or you can be the regular season's overrated. Which one you want to be? Maybe a mixture of both.
I think I'm a mixture of both, but I think I lean more towards the regular season is overrated.
Braves, Orioles, Dodgers, Rays, Brewers had the best records, and they lost 13 of 14 playoff games. What you got? Some athletes show up in the postseason, some don't. That is fact. That is fact. There's plenty of baseball reference, basketball reference, football reference pages that show you unbelievable regular season numbers, and then you go to the postseason, and the dude didn't show up. Didn't show up. You got guys. Derek Jeter was a better player in the postseason than he was a regular season, and he's got a full season of postseason. He's got so much body of work in the postseason, it's like a 1 year of a regular season. Jeter was a better player in the postseason than he was the regular season, and he's a Hall of Fame player. 3,000 hits. Can't take that away. Some guy, my guy George Brett, back when they didn't have all these expanded postseasons, George Brett got the Royals in the postseason in the 70s throughout the 80s. Go to George Brett's baseball reference page and look at he was a monster in the postseason. Monster. He showed up big. You can just think of guys off the top of your head who showed up big in the postseason. Reginald Martinez Jackson. Reggie Jackson showed up in the postseason. That's why he was Mr. October. Kirby Puckett was a player that showed up in the postseason. You see it with guys. You see it. There's something about them. The bright lights get on, and they let Bryce Harper. Are we going to say Bryce Harper is not that guy?
I'm not going to be the one to say that. He's definitely proven to be the guy.
I mean, there is just certain players throughout time that they got into the postseason, and this was just, it was time to shine. You can look at Raleigh, you can look at Mariano Rivera's numbers. Go look at Raleigh Fingers' numbers.
Yeah. Or guys
Raleigh
that
Fingers. Look at Gene Tennis. Gino. I mean, there's certain players that you go, they showed up to the postseason, and man, it was time to ball. And they were big-time players.
And there's guys like Steve Pierce, who kind of got traded from the Blue Jays to the Red Sox in 2018, exploded, World Series MVP.
Big Papi, man, speaking of Red Sox, Big Papi's awful on television. He should, I mean, it's so bad. By the way, watching TBS yesterday, the Grandy Man, J. Roll, and Pedro Martinez, that is by far a superior product to what Fox is putting out. Now, A-Rod should be a Hall of Famer. Papi and Jeter obviously are. Even when you have Big Frank, that's a bad product. TBS, Curtis Granderson, Jimmy Rollins, and Pedro Martinez, one of the greats of all time. Love Pedro. It's a superior product. I really wish we could have that for our bigger moments going forward. I don't know why I got sidetracked. Why was I time before that? My wife's trying to call me and sidetrack me.
Talking about players showed up.
Oh,
when the lights are on.
You can't. Big Papi showed up. Manny Ramirez showed up. Those Red Sox teams, I mean, you talk about guys who showed up big in the postseason. You see it. There's certain guys who just, they rise to the occasion in the pup. Derek Jeter, I mean, you saw it. You saw it year after year after year. Great postseason play. There are guys who have enough body of work that when they got in, they just smashed. Like the postseason, there's none of this, well, we had some time off. And that's garbage. That's such garbage. We had time off. Well, we did simulated games, but it's just really? Really? Is there a great body of work of Matt Olson or, I mean, now you start looking at Ronald Acuna Jr. The 1 year the Braves did win, he wasn't around. That's not slighting him at all. He was injured. But his body of work in the postseason is nothing to be like, this is incredible. Right?
Yeah.
All righty. Great show, Ray. Great stepping in. We appreciate it. We appreciate everything you do for us. We got Alex. We got the Red Sox event of the century tomorrow down in SLO. We'll be down there for a wedding as our buddy Alex Jensen is getting married to his beautiful bride, Sammy O'Brien. We know her father is the TV face of the Red Sox television. So we're going to be in enemy territory tomorrow here on the West Coast. We'll be back on Monday at 1 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to Paul Himbakides. Thank you to Eno Saris. Enjoy baseball on Sunday, and we'll see everybody on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football and get ready for the ALCS Sunday. We'll see you on Monday.
Hey, it's Eno Saris, your friendly neighborhood baseball scribe. There are two things I love: baseball